Okay, let's settle down and get our guest speaker on here. This young lady is amazing. She's on the road. She called me yesterday. She said, I got a flight to catch. Hope I'll be on the ground by that time. I said, dear, don't worry about it. I appreciate you. See, that's what I love about leaders. If they can't make it, they call you in advance to say, hey, and I told her I got her back. But why don't leaders don't wait till the last minute to get things done? They get her done, get her done, get her done. All right, let me get it on here real quickly. She's out in Lubbock, Texas. She's Chamber of Commerce. She's the fun side. She got BMI groups going on. She was a former locksmith, and she's out there, brand new area, don't know about it, and starts shaking hands and kissing babies. And now she's breaking into that area just by big old smile she does, and going out there talking to people. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we give a warm welcome right now to one of the most astounding young ladies, Miss Roxann Corralejo.
Oh, yeah. So y'all, I do want to say and give a big thanks to Mr. Thomas yesterday. So flights are always hectic, and after COVID, they just seem to be 10 times more hectic. I don't know what the deal is, but I fly all the time. And so I had some last minute flight changes and arrangements, and they said, there's no way that I'm making it home tomorrow. There's just no way. It's not happening. We have weather in certain areas, and it's just not possible. So after several flight arrangements and stuff, I'm like, all right, we got to do everything we can. So I make sure I'm not on a plane at 11 o'clock Central Time for this call. So we make all those arrangements, and I end up going to other cities I wasn't even originally supposed to end up in, have extra layovers. So I'm stressing a little bit. It just turned into a mess, but you know what? It is what it is. It's God's plan. And I'm like, all right, we just gotta push through whatever happens. So I gave Mr. Thomas a call, and I said, listen, I'm supposed to be making it back into Lubbock, not tonight, but tomorrow, which is right now, by 9:30. So I should be good. I should be good to do the call, but just in case, because flights are going crazy, I don't know if I'm on a plane. Can you help? Is there something we can do? I just want to give you a heads up. And he said, absolutely, don't worry about it. So I'm stressed, talking to a bunch of people, trying to figure this stuff out. And the one thing that's so great is the ease and the positivity in Mr. Thomas's voice when he says, don't worry about it. And just like he said, I have your back. Those few words just were so amazing to me and made me feel so good. I stopped stressing. I said, you know what? I don't have to stress anymore. I'll get there when I get there. Whatever happens, happens. But I know that Mr. Thomas has my back. So I said, all right, I'm going to eat. I haven't eaten. I was hungry. I relaxed and I ate. So thank you so much, Mr. Thomas, for all that you do. You are an amazing and true servant leader. So that has helped me tremendously. To add on to all that flight debacle, I do want to say that I don't know where my bags are. They are somewhere between Austin, Dallas, Lubbock, Harlingen, who the heck knows? So I will say that I am completely fresh. I don't even have a brush to run through my hair. I have no makeup. I have none of that. So, all right, yes, Mr. Thomas said that we got into the book of Atomic Habits my first Monday of November. And I do want to say that I know for some of you, if I brought this subject up and we're talking about making these itty bitty little changes, these itty bitty little habits that might not seem very meaningful at first, that they turn into something great, something huge, something just phenomenal, but you just don't see the results right up front. Like exercising. We exercise. We don't see the results the very next day, even though we wish we did. I know every time I go for a run, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I skinny yet? Am I muscled up enough yet? Whatever it is, same thing with these little habits. But I know when I first started ACN, I started hearing about this book and other things that other people were doing. And I'm like, well, that's just not me. And I know there's a handful of people on this call that might feel the same way. And they just might say, that's just not me. I'm free-spirited. I am. I like to dance to the beat of my own drum. I like to have that fluidity and that flexibility. Absolutely. But I learned that you can do both. You can have these little habits and it's not going to pigeonhole you. Am I skinny yet, Sam? Yes. That was going through my head. But these little habits can still make you who you are, and they don't really change the way you want to live sometimes. And I want to give an example of the first thing I started doing is writing in my calendar. That was just a small habit that I needed. I used my phone, my calendar on my phone, and I started putting just meetings in there, meetings and appointments, for a couple reasons. One is that it started freeing up some of that mental space. Mr. Trolley messaged me earlier today and he said, okay, can we jump on a Zoom with Hunter Nelson? another regional director in ACN, who said, can we jump on a Zoom with Hunter Nelson and schedule a 1 o'clock? I don't even know. That's in a couple hours. I have no idea what I'm doing after this call. I have to go to my calendar. I don't have to keep all that information in here. So it frees up that headspace. I go straight to my calendar and I said, absolutely, let's lock it in. Let's do a Zoom at 1 o'clock, which is great. So it frees up that headspace just to have it in my calendar. But then also another thing I realized is when I started putting in just my meetings in there, stuff that I had, events maybe that I wanted to go to, a trip that I wanted to take over the weekend, I stopped double booking things. I'm a yes person, that free spirit that says, yes, let's go, gung ho all the time. And I started double booking. And so I realized my productivity was kind of low because I was saying yes to all these things. And I felt like I wasn't being productive enough. I wasn't getting enough done. So I started putting in all these little things as well, as far as follow-up appointments, reminding myself to peek John that I met in my Uber or whatever it is. I started putting those little things in my calendar. So now, in between appointments, if I have time that frees up, which happens all the time, all of a sudden you're either early or the other person's late, I have that 10 minutes, I go straight to my calendar and say, okay, what's on my calendar? So what's the first thing, just to go back a little bit, because I know this will make sense after this. When we're launching a new rep, we go through the training, our Saturday training, we hear it all the time. We're launching a new rep. What's one of the first things that we want them to do? We want to schedule a PBZ or a PBR, but what do they have to do that? We want to get in front of their people. What do we ask them to do? Can anybody put that in the chat? Anybody think about it? It's an easy one. Once I say it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, duh. The one thing we ask that, yes, there we go. Deborah got it. Make a list. That's the first thing we ask them to do, is make a list. Why? Because it's more productive. If we're sitting in front of them and they're thinking, all right, let me go through my phone. Who do I know? So much time is wasted. If they make their list, it's so much easier. Bam, bam, bam. Let's knock out these calls. Let's get this presentation going. Let's get in front of these people. And it's so much more productive. And for them, they have that respect. They're like, wow, we made calls for maybe 15 minutes. There's 20 people showing up. How did that happen? It's because we started with a list. So as I started putting these things in my calendar. I was making a continuous list. It wasn't just as a new rep. It is my list consistently going. Whoever I talk to, they go into my calendar. Oh, they told me to follow up with them next week. Guess what? It goes in Monday the 27th. I'm already thinking about stuff for next week because people are busy this week. They don't want to talk to me. In my calendar for that day to follow up, to schedule either a presentation, to ask them about services, whatever it is, it's going in there. And if I don't reach out to them that day for whatever reason, because it wasn't a scheduled event, I just changed that date to Tuesday. All right, remember to call them Tuesday because they just said follow up next week. And it's a forever list going. Who here has been in ACN a while and forgets that you still need a list? It makes you and helps you move so productively. And I know sometimes between appointments when we have those 10 minutes, before I used to sit there and say, okay, let me see, let me write down, who do I need to call? And that's when I start making my list. And then those 10 minutes are wasted because I'm making my list then. And then all of a sudden I get busy, and I forget to go back to that list. So if I started putting this stuff in my calendar, one, it cleared up that headspace for me. But then two, it made me more productive. So that was a minor habit, a really, really small change that I really didn't recognize. But now the fact that I'm always booked, even if my day starts out with nothing on my calendar for that day, I go to the previous day and see what I wasn't able to tackle. I have stuff like go to Walmart. If I need more toothpaste and go to Walmart for a toothpaste and I don't make it, it goes on to the next day. So everything I do is on my calendar. It just helps make everything move so quickly. But does that make me not as free-spirited as I want to be? Heck no. It does not change who I am as a person. I'm going to give you an example. And I have someone I was traveling with on the call here today. But as of Friday, so Friday afternoon, I have an appointment. One of my newer reps put me in front of a commercial real estate broker. We have this appointment, and he was like, wow, that went really, really well. He got excited because this appointment Friday afternoon. And he goes, hey, I'm making a couple stops, and I'm going to end up the tip of Texas, the south tip of Texas in Laguna Vista. And so He says, I really want you to meet the real estate agent I'm working with out there. And this guy has a bunch of properties. His family owns a whole bunch of restaurants. They have apartment complexes. This is a great contact. But because of Friday afternoon, that appointment went so well, he was like, I want to introduce you to them. Can we make this work? First thing I did, I said, okay, I'm in, but let me look at my calendar. Let me see what I got to move around. Let's see, kind of just bob and weave and whatever it is. So even though I'm structured in what I have in my calendar every single day, things change all the time, and that's okay. So Friday afternoon, I get this message or this idea that, okay, Saturday afternoon by noon, RVP Rocks, yes, let's go. By noon, we're going to be driving to, is it Mineral Wells, which is in Texas. It's like 4 hours away, driving to Mineral Wells. And then from Mineral Wells that same Saturday day, we drive out to Dallas. And then from Dallas, we stay there and then fly out to Harlingen Sunday morning, have that meeting with that real estate agent Sunday morning, and then make our way back to Lubbock Sunday afternoon. Holy cow, it's a whirlwind. It's 4 cities. It's 1,500 miles in 30 hours, y'all. Oh my goodness, it was a mess. Those flights were crazy, but we made it. But the thing is that creating that habit of a calendar, which I used to think that would ruin my free spirit. I want to have the flexibility to do what I want to do and say yes to these things and just have fun and live life. That's so not true, because we had fun along the way. There were so many beautiful sights that we saw. It was just amazing. It was coupled with business, and it was spur of the moment, yes, but also because of that minor habit of my calendar, I was able to make it work. Where maybe before I would be like, you know what, I don't know if I can, I don't know what I have going on, and have to sit and think about it. And what it did for me is it eliminated that over-analyzing aspect. Some people over-analyze what they can do, what they can make, because they're trying to think about what's going on, who do you need to call, what's your next step? You know what, I should work ACN, let me knock, I should do it on Saturday. You know what, I can't go. I would have missed a huge opportunity if I said I can't go. But I looked at my calendar and I made it work, because I didn't have to overanalyze. I didn't have to think about it. I looked at it, I said, all right, I can make it work. Let's just go. Some other little habits that maybe, well, I know for me, when I started ACN and people were like, you got to improve on yourself. Who are you being? You have to read. I don't want you guys to raise your hands, but I know there's probably a few people on this call when they're saying you have to read. For me, I was like, man, I don't need to read. Reading is a waste of time. I like to be productive. I like to get stuff done. Like, reading is just no. And it took me several years. I'm not going to lie. I've always been straight up honest and raw with y'all. I said that is all BS. I don't need to. And now look at me here doing what? A book club, breaking down a book that I'm reading. So what is a little habit that you can do that can change that? Read 10 pages a day. How many of y'all can take the time to read 10 pages a day? And if some of y'all say no, you are lying to yourself. 10 pages a day is so simple to do and get done. So what does that do when you read 10 pages a day? Maybe not so much. Is it going to change your world, 10 pages? Absolutely not. After 2 days, after 10 days, no. But you're reading and you're trying to get that knowledge and gain that knowledge. And I write it on my books and I take notes. And that's the type of person I am. So 10 pages might take me a little bit longer than it takes you. But it's just a few minutes a day, right before bed, before turning on the TV, maybe waiting for an appointment because someone is late, whether you're on a Zoom, let's read a couple pages and get it knocked out. But what does 10 pages a day do? It's not really important at first, but let's just say we do that every day for a year. Every single day for a year. 365 days you read 10 pages. What is that? That's 3,650 pages we read in a year. 3,650. Let me see what this book is. This book is not quite 300. 300 pages. You can read this book and a few others in a year span by reading 10 pages a day. So with me, starting out with this, I'm like, I am not a reader. That was my identity, or what I wasn't. I said, I'm not a reader. I'm not going to read. It's not going to happen. I promise you, if you read 10 books a day, guess what? You're a stinking reader. I'm a reader. So these little habits that we're doing can change who we are as a person. That's what's so great. If someone writes down, just takes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day just to write in a journal. Write a blog, whatever it is. I'm not a writer, but you write every day or even a couple times a week. After a year, after 2 years, guess what? You're a writer. And what happens during that time span is the fact that you're doing it again and again and again and again and again. And if you're on an open platform and people are reading a blog or whatever it is, that you're learning how to improve. You're getting better. And guess what it's doing? It's building the most important part of these atomic habits is it's building that trust and that faith in yourself. So when you're starting out, you're like, I'm not a writer. I spell everything wrong. It's horrible. Nothing makes sense, whatever it is. After time, you start calling yourself a writer because you've written all these different things and they just improve and they start getting better. So how do these atomic habits work in work or in real life or in other things or in ACN? Changing these little habits that you do will build confidence in yourself. More presentations you do, let's just say I'm going to do a presentation every day, even though I have nobody to present to. I'm going to turn on my Zoom, I'm going to look at myself in the face, and I'm going to go through a presentation every single day. Well, maybe the first couple days, no one shows up to a PBZ that you have, and it's just you, but you're presenting anyway. Then the third day you get someone, the fourth day you might get two. And now all of a sudden you're presenting to people and you have exposures. Guess what? Someone's going to sign up. It's going to happen because you made this a daily habit. Now, people aren't going to show up every day, but guess what? You're going to get better. Your presentation is going to get better. What you say is going to get better. Your confidence in yourself is going to get better. And what happens when your confidence in yourself gets better? People's confidence in you, yes, Susan had her thumbs up, that gets better as well. So these little changes that we're thinking might not make a difference. And I know it took a different twist than I did earlier in the month talking about being positive, but it all makes a difference. These little things that we do, identify what you need to do to make it better. So as you're doing these little things every day to be in SVP, someone put on their RVP, Roxann, I am making these RVP moves. I flew 1,500 miles in 30 hours to meet with a real estate investor, with someone. Guess what? We could have done it over Zoom. The problem is that people take the easy way out. It could have been done. I could have met that person, but guess what? It wouldn't have been that face-to-face interaction. He wouldn't have gotten to really get to know me. We wouldn't have been able to hug and shake hands and have that. We had, oh my gosh, maybe 20-minute conversation, just conversation, because he wants to see the business with his husband, which is fantastic. I'm not going to go through the business with you right now then. Let's get on a Zoom later, but at least I made that connection. That was the point. That is making these RVP and SVP moves. Are you doing that? Are you doing these little habits of an RVP and SVP? What are you doing in your day-to-day routine? How many people are you talking to? Are you piquing people? Do you have that confidence of an SVP? I promise you, if you have that confidence of an SVP, you will get there. I don't think there's any doubts of anyone on this call that I would hit that position. Why? Because I'm acting it, because I'm doing it. But most of all, I'm putting in the work that's required. And it's not going out well, I am kind of massive action right now, but it's not all that massive action that does it. It's my day-to-day routine. It's who I am being. Who are you being? I know we talk about that all the time. Mr. Trolley brought that up in his conversations last month. Who are you being? Are you being that executive team leader that shows up in your back office? Or are you being that SVP that's required to hit that position? You don't hit SVP and then all of a sudden become an SVP. You are an SVP, then you hit the position of SVP. So y'all go out there, figure out, I don't want to tell you what your little habit should be. I'm just telling you what's worked for me. These little things have worked for me. They have been improvements to get me to where I am today. And they're going to be continued improvements and growth to get me to where I want to be tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So figure out these little changes that you need to make in your day-to-day life. However small they are, who cares? The smaller, the better. And build them into habits and become that person you want to be. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. Oh my goodness. This was just so great that I was able to be here with you guys today. And even better that I know you had my back. And I know if I needed anybody else on this call, if you didn't answer for whatever reason, I could reach out to Mr. Sam Foster and say, Sam, I'm not going to make it. Can we switch days? Can you go in for me? He would say, absolutely. And I know it because we are a family. And that's one thing I'm getting from a lot of my new reps is just like, hey, I love the camaraderie. I love the family aspect. And I love just what I get from the people that I see. And I can see that y'all are close.